Hey everyone, it's Stephanie again, and you are tuned into the review of Married at First Sight, Season 15, Episode 1. All right, before we get started, don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be the first to find out when I post these videos. All right, welcome back. For all my new subscribers, hi, welcome. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. Real quick, for all my old heads, hi guys, missed you, love you. For all my old heads, I'm back. For my new subscribers, just a little bit about me. I am a therapist. I started doing reviews on this show, season 6, because I, like you, watch and yell at the TV and, have all my thoughts. So I decided, you know what? Here's a great way to put entertainment and education together. So I call it a little bit of like edutainment, where I just share my perspective and advice based on what we're seeing these couples do. Because a lot of times in relationships, it's very easy to see people do something and really remove ourselves from it. And a lot of times we might be mimicking these things or behaving or showing up just the same. So I think even though sometimes, especially as of late, these seasons feel a little bit like a train wreck, I feel like we can always take something out of it because we're watching anyways. I give both professional and personal advice. So sometimes I'm just going to side eye and you're going to know how I feel. And it's not going to be the therapist hat. It's just going to be the Stephanie hat. And also I don't diagnose these people. A lot of people ask me, do you think they're, we're watching snippets of whatever production puts together. And that's another thing that I keep in mind. Production pieces these things together. So we can't always go based on what we're seeing because it can be very curated, which a lot of times it is, but I do my best. So thank you for coming along this season. Thank you in advance for watching this season with me, and always comment, let me know. I may not be able to get to everyone's comment, but I definitely read them. All right, so let's jump in. Episode 1, we're on the West Coast for the first time. That's exciting. I feel like we as viewers have been wanting to see like just a different coast, see different people, feel something that felt fresh, especially the way that they're kind of pumping this out. So it's good to be on the West Coast. I feel like we're going to have some fresh energy there. With that being said, I really don't even like to start doing reviews anymore until like episode 2 because they took 3 hours of our life this week and one couple got married, which has like been the thing the last couple of seasons, but it's excruciating to get through 3 hours, y'all. Like none of us have that time yet. We find a way to get it done. So I usually like to wait until episode 2 because now we see more, but I'm just going to give you my thoughts based on what I've seen so far. I don't even know these people yet, so I have it written down. Usually I go off the dome, but I have it written down. So I'm just going to give you my thoughts so far. Nate and Stacia. So Nate for me gives me Playboy vibes. He says he's had a lot of growth and a lot of things have changed, and he's gone through a lot of low moments and being broke and going through things in order to get to where he is. So I think that's great. I would love to hear more about that because it just feels kind of like, and maybe it's the way it's packaged, but it's like, I went through all this stuff, I was in this place, and now I'm here. And now I can take care of someone. That's one of the things he said. I can take care of myself and I can take care of someone. But he gives me Playboy vibes. He at the bachelor party, telling the stripper to like get on her knees, open her mouth. I'm like, listen, here's how I feel about things like that. I think when you get married, you don't change immediately to this perfect wife or perfect husband for your spouse, because there's no such thing as perfection, but you don't automatically put this husband and wife cape on and become different. So those changes need to be incrementally happening as you're discovering, hey, I'm on this journey that I want to do this, or I'm in this journey and we're doing this. So things like that for me, the night before, it just feels very vile. This is what you're doing the night before. Like, you really shouldn't be interested in that. That's my perspective. Other people might say, hey, get it all in before you can. But my thing is, if the night before you have to get it all in, are you really ready? So the way that he kind of comports himself, I'm not a fan of from what I've seen so far. He seems nice, but like nice doesn't get it all done all the time. One thing I noticed also is his friend who asked, hey, what if your wife doesn't want you to have female friends? How do you feel about that? First of all, I side-eyed her because why are you asking that? Like, I get it, but like being a supporter of the relationship, I don't know why that was the one question that she had. And when they were picking out the rings together, they seemed very chummy. True, indeed, they were friends, but they seemed very chummy. They seemed like they had good chemistry. So my thought, and I was talking to my husband about it, which I'll bring on, guys. I bring them on a few times a season. We're both like, well, why didn't they get together? What's going on with that? You know? So that, I'm side-eyeing Nate. He gives Playboy vibes. I think we'll see a lot from him. And what was interesting in the way they split it is showing Stacia, who he will be married to, saying, hey, I don't have a problem with him having female friends or whatever, or being flirtatious. It's about being able to set the boundaries so that you don't invite someone to disrespect your marriage, your relationship. Which, you know, at that point, seeing him at the bachelor party, we might see him struggle with what's appropriate, what's not. On the flip, Stacia. I like Stacia. I can see why maybe she's struggled in relationships. She's very accomplished and she's very headstrong, but she probably gets in her own way with that. You know, some of our characteristics that serve us in certain places in life get in the way in others. So if you're super dominant, and that's male or female, it's not like, you know, it's not men can only be dominant. If you're super dominant at work, that probably doesn't necessarily work at home. And so we have to like learn as people how to kind of tuck those things in, or be multifaceted, or, you know, put that coat on at work and then come home and put a different coat on because your spouse is not gonna respond to you the same. And so she appears, off of like just what I've seen so far, like she brings that energy to relationships, and men are probably intimidated or don't even want to be bothered with it. Even in the conversation about submission, and you can see her mom, I believe, and friends talk to her about, you know, allowing that lead if that's the relationship dynamic that you want, and her perspective, and I'll give you a little to see if you can. I get what she thinks she means, but she's going to start testing this person and really looking for him to fail so that she can remain in control, which is going to be a problem because it doesn't really work that way. True indeed, especially in this situation where they're just meeting for the first time. Yeah, you have to get to know each other. This is not traditional where you've dated this person for a while and so you can put your confidence in them. But she's going to have to find some balance of being able to do that, and giving him, and truly genuinely giving him the space to show and prove, versus like show and prove, but I'm waiting for you to fail so I can be like, told you so, and then I'm gonna take the reins, because that doesn't sound like a team. And she probably needs to learn how to work as a team. So that's my 2 cents on Nate and Stacia. I probably have more, but I'm gonna keep it short. Next we have Lindy and Miguel. So what I remember about Lindy is that she grew up at 7-Day Adventist, so there's a lot of restrictions on what she could be and the way she could present. I don't know specifically. That's what she's telling us. So she seems like very talkative, very bubbly and fun, but also very reserved, maybe a little socially awkward, because at bachelorette party she was saying she didn't know how to dance and all of these things because she wasn't able to do certain things. She seems like very quirky though, in a good way. And so does Miguel, because you guys saw when he showed up in that little costume with his friends in costumes as well. Oh my God. This is why I couldn't do the show. Because if that is what I have to be a part of, you know, they seem like they can make it work. She seems quirky enough for him, who has different facets, which I think Miguel is great so far. I think he's pretty cool, very nice. They show different layers of him. They packaged him to where they're like, he's the poet, he's the scientist, he's the guy in a costume who dresses up with I don't know what that was, because once he was walking in the bear costume, I checked out, and then he met other friends in their costume. I don't know what that was, but he has different sides of him. He's the romantic. He's really looking for someone to settle down with and build and do all those things. Just off of the surface of her seeming like just a nice girl, extremely talkative, just a nice girl, and him just really wanting it and being settled and being ready, and being like pretty confident in his level of maturity and wanting to go the next step, they might be a good match off of the surface. So those are the things that stuck out to me. I mean, with Lindy, you're seeing, I think Alexis was it, kind of saying she's really talkative. I feel like this season and the last season are the first seasons where I've seen the design to kind of make the girls not really like each other all the way. Like before, everybody got along, you know, for the most part. I mean, obviously they had conflict on group trips and everything, but we really didn't see people not liking each other, like especially the women, until last season when we saw some of the women off the rip really not get along, and there was like a lot of conflict on social media. So I'm starting to see little tidbits of that, but I think, you know, they're also packaging it for great TV. So that's Lindy and Miguel. Next we have Kristen and Mitch. So I don't remember too much about Kristen. I'll be honest, I really don't. Mitch is the one who is really big on like the eco-friendly. Oh, I do remember some stuff. Kristen seems very down to earth. Her thing is like, I don't care that you don't make a bunch of money. I want you to be passionate in your pursuits and in your career and really love what you're doing. And she seems down to earth. She seems like she would pair well with him because he seems to be very passionate about what he's doing, about eco-friendly and working for the nonprofit and what's important to him and how he wants to live his life and be an example in his life of what's important to him. He seems like he's a little inflexible. He's the oldest of the bunch. So there's a couple of people who are a little bit older here, which is good. I've been wanting to see that. I've said that for several seasons now, because the 26-year-old who's waited all their life to settle down, it's like, you haven't lived yet. So I'm happy to see, no shade to the 26-year-olds, but you know, when I hear the 37-year-old who's tired, or the 41-year-old, because Mitch is 41, I get it. So I think that Mitch is going to struggle. He seems to be a little inflexible. There's some things that I saw this week's episode that he was really hard about, and not really quick to see maybe a different perspective or be open. So I think that will get in the way that he really thinks, and because he's so passionate about it, although great, might get in the way of maybe somebody else's perspective, or if they don't live that type of life. God forbid she doesn't recycle a bottle. I don't know what's gonna happen. That might be fireworks. So we'll see. It's interesting though. He seems nice. We'll see how that goes. He hasn't been able to hold down a relationship and is kind of a revolving door in that way, where something is wrong, so then it doesn't work out. So, you know, it's like go big or go home on this show. You can't, or you can choose not to do that because you are getting married at first sight. So it'll be interesting to see their dynamic. Next we have Alexis and Justin. So Alexis has been proposed to 3 times. You know, I really still don't get that. She gave this answer that was pretty packaged, like, you know, I didn't understand what it meant to be married, or, you know, what a relationship essentially was supposed to be, or I had a skewed perspective, and so I said no. I don't know what that means. I don't. You know, she kind of threw it out there. I want to know, like, what were these proposals really? First, a high school boyfriend. So was this after high school or what? Then it was a college friend, and then it was a college boyfriend. Okay, because, you know, a lot of people do that, but I don't know. Something is missing. She kind of casually throws it out there, almost like a badge of honor. I do respect that she says, listen, I wasn't who I needed to be, and I needed to be like, hey, you're the problem, girl. And that is something that a lot of us need to do at some point in life. I feel like everybody at some point in life needs to do that and say, is the problem me? Because sometimes it is. And so being able to take accountability in that way and say, you know, I need to do some work on myself. That is a good quality, and I think it'll serve her in relationships. And she seems to be happy to kind of do it. She seems to be fun, carefree. Justin, there were the one couple that actually got married this week. Justin comes from a different dynamic. His brother raised him from about 14 to 19 years old. And then he's been on his own, I guess, since he's 19. He's 33. And he is the romantic, I guess they call him the teddy bear, the towering teddy bear. He's 6'8". She asked for a guy that was really tall, and then he came, and now he's too tall. Girl, okay. You gotta just take what you can get. Because if he was 5'8", then you would, no shade to the 5'8" guys, don't at me. But you know, sometimes we just have to not be so picky. Because when she was like, oh, he's too tall, I'm like, okay, Just be happy, okay? He seems, him and his brother are really close, and his brother is almost like a father figure to him. They had some words about this whole thing because the brother is not really feeling it, doesn't think he's ready. Apparently after that, they had a conversation off camera and they were able to come together. They're very close. It's very sweet. Obviously, his big brother is, just being really protective. Justin was engaged before and it didn't work out. Apparently, his ex wanted him to be a person that he is now, but he wasn't there at that time. So he was really hurt by it, of course. And now he's in a place where he's ready to give his all. Justin seems very sweet. He seems very sensitive. A part of me feels like some of his emotion may get in the way of situations probably not getting better. I think some of his emotions might get in the way of situations not being better because they can exacerbate the situation, because he seems like he wears his emotions very high, and then he responds from that place. He was able to circle back, but I can foresee that that's going to be something that happens. They got together. His thing is, women always wanted to see if he was as well endowed as they assumed he was based on his height. That clearly was a production thing, because I heard it like 3 or 4 times during the episode, and I was like, is that it? Like, is that what you have to offer here? Like, that's not appealing for that to be like your shtick, your line, whatever. So I kind of rolled my eyes at that. Like, are you holding on to anything else? I feel like even though they had really good banter, and Alexis says she'll take personality over anything, they had really good banter. They had really good chemistry. I enjoyed watching them at the altar. I enjoyed watching them after, when they were kind of talking, getting to know each other. She was rubbing his hand, so they had this comfortable physical interaction, even though she said that he's not her type aesthetically. They seem, if she didn't say that, you might say, oh, okay, they might be attracted to each other. I don't know that they are. I feel like he might be attracted to her, but she's not attracted to him, for real. So I don't know how that's going to play out. We'll see if personality does supersede looks for her, moving forward. But I did enjoy watching them. So, I'm hopeful. I know we live in a world of extreme cynicism, especially when it comes to relationships and marriage and stuff like that. But the reality is, although some people don't do it for the right reasons, lots of people, so many people are constantly putting themselves out there in order to be able to connect with someone. So it shows you that the desire for love and commitment and togetherness and family and all this stuff, it will never go away. It will never go away. So we shall see, but I enjoyed watching them. Last but not least, we have Morgan and Ben. So Morgan she's kind of tough. She's like a tough gal. She actually reminds me of Stacia. They mimic their energy together. She's very active. She did a lot of self-work. She talked about the self-work that she did and how she had to make some changes in order to be a better person. She got emotional about that. She's tough though, and I think that her friends were talking about her really needing to kind of fall back a little bit too and not be so aggressive. I won't say assertive, because assertive is cool within reason, but aggression might be something that's a little out of hand. So she's gonna have to be able to learn to have maybe a softer presentation in order to be received well. And it's not just women that need to have a softer presentation. Sometimes if you just show up harsh as a person, man or woman, then your presentation needs to be a little softer for somebody to want that, because nobody wants to be bothered with that. But she clearly struggles with that. So she reminds me a lot of Stacia, but she really, really wants it and is ready for it, and it is kind of comfortable in the space that she's in now. Ben, is that his name? I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but Ben comes from I believe a strong family dynamic. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I can't fully remember, but he comes from a strong family dynamic. He's worked really hard. He does really well. He's not super passionate about what he does. I believe he's an engineer, but there's things that he wants to be able to do that's more of a philanthropic type of space, which is great. It shows different layers of him, shows different sides. He's very He's very responsible with what he does financially. They call him, he's very, very close to his mom. That's what made me think of the family dynamic. He's very close to his mom, really reveres his mom. That can be a wonderful thing. Unless you just don't know when that's appropriate and when that's not, or when to prioritize your spouse, or when to, which a lot of men who don't necessarily have had the experience of having to do that don't know how to do until they are uncomfortable enough to have to do it in a relationship. But Ben, I think his name is like the mama's boy or something, but he probably should be called the cheapskate, because his lack of, we can put it into this and we can put it into that. Listen, a financially responsible person, that's an attractive quality, but life is to be lived. Okay. There needs to be balance. You can't take it with you. And so to live, there's frugal and then there's like cheapskate. And to me, they both are kind of on the same end of the spectrum, but cheapskate is like way there. He's giving me that, to where he doesn't want to spend any money, doesn't want to spend for any experiences. Experiences are things that you can never quite get your money for it. Like they're very priceless. So you might have these things and that's great, but if you're not able to experience life with your partner or yourself, that's not a good look. That's my personal opinion, so he's gonna run into that, not wanting to spend. There's a difference between spending erratically and then being a complete cheapskate. There is a balance, and I'm so glad that Pastor Cal already put him up on that. From a smart married man to somebody who's not married, you need to listen to this man. He did take that in and said, Pastor Cal already told me I need to find the balance. I'm so glad that he has gotten that prior to meeting his spouse. It'll be a little uncomfortable because, let's be real, we've been doing what we've been wanting to do all this time and nobody's there to tell us no. So it'll be interesting to see if he's up to the challenge and if he's willing to be uncomfortable until it becomes something that is now like the new normal for him. That's it, y'all. That is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Let me know what you guys thought of this season so far, what you guys think of the cast. I'm excited to see what's up for next week. And I also have an exciting announcement coming up in the next week or two. So look out for that. And don't forget to subscribe. All right, guys, everyone have a wonderful weekend.